Going to be cooking up a beef stew today. Now, I picked this recipe up quite a while ago when I was in Spain, so it's got a sort of Mediterranean theme. Now, I love this recipe and, you know, the taste of it is just beautiful. So hopefully you're going to enjoy it as much as I do. Now, first of all, I'm just going to go through the ingredients. Now, I've got me beef there. Now, the beef I've got is stewing beef. I've actually got about 1 kilo of stewing beef, which is a really good beef because, you know, you cook it nice and slow and it's just sort of really lovely and soft to eat and it kind of falls apart, melt in your mouth. Beautiful. Now, I've also got some oxtails. Now, they normally come a little bit bigger, but this is obviously the end of the tail. So I'm going to use those. They're on the bone because I think that just really adds to the flavours. Now, in total, I've got 1 kilo of meat and I've got about ½ kilo of oxtail, but you could just use meat, entirely up to you. I usually reckon that each person has about 250 grams per person. So I reckon there's enough for about 5 or 6 people here. Now, vegetable wise, I've got ½ dozen sort of medium sized tomatoes, 3 carrots, a red, a green pepper, 1 whole onion. Then I've got a couple of leeks. Now, I'm not going to use all the leek. I'm just going to use the white bit up to about the sort of light green bit really and chop that down. Couple of sticks of celery. These ones have already been trimmed. 5 cloves of garlic. Now I'm going to use 3 of those in the main pot with the meat. And then just at the end, we're going to crush the other 2 cloves of garlic and add it with some parsley. Pop it in just at the end, just to give it a really lovely flavour. ½ glass of a good red wine, at least one that you would drink. And then 1 glass of beef stock. Now the only other things we're going to add is a little bit of salt and pepper. And we're going to top up with a little bit more water. And finally, if you want to, you can add some fried potatoes, just to sort of add it in at the end. Beautiful. So there's all the ingredients. Let's first of all get all the vegetables washed, chopped up, get on with the cooking. So I've got all my ingredients laid out. It's always good if you can prepare everything and get it ready so you can really enjoy the cooking. Now with the vegetables, I've washed them, chopped them. It doesn't matter if they're exactly the same size, just get them chopped up because they're going into a stew. Now with the meat, obviously I've chopped that into nice chunky pieces and we're going to start off by browning the meat. Now because there's a fair amount of meat, I'm going to do it in 2 batches, maybe you need to do it in 3 batches. So got my pan, I'm going to put some oil in there, turn it up to a nice high heat, put the meat in there and just really brown it and seal those beautiful flavours in there. But like I say, if you need to do it in 2 batches or 3 batches, absolutely fine. So I'm going to start off, just take the lid off there. Now, I'm going to use olive oil, but obviously you can use any oil you've got. So let's just put a good glug of olive oil in there. Now I'm just going to switch the heat on. I'm going to bring it up to a really nice high heat to start with. Now, whilst I'm waiting for that to warm up, I'm just going to put some salt on the meat. Some nice fresh black pepper. Now let's wait for that to get nice and hot. So when you put the meat in, what we're trying to do is not really cook the meat. We're just trying to sort of brown it and it kind of seals the juices in there, and later on we're going to slowly cook it to make it really delicious. Right, it's just coming up to temperature, so it's getting nice and hot. I'm just going to grab this, just put one in, make sure it's sizzling away. As I say, if you've got to do it in a couple of batches, 2 or 3 batches, absolutely fine. Keep stirring the meat over, just to make sure it's all nicely browned off, and then we'll take it out and put the rest in there. Right, I'm just going to turn it over. Spread that out. Try and get it on the bottom and the sides of the pan. As I say, you just want to kind of brown it off. We're not trying to really cook it. So I'm just going to give that final stir. Look at that, getting a beautiful colour on the meat. That's what we're looking for. Oh, lovely. So I think we've pretty much cooked the first batch. You can see, lovely colour. Let's just pour that on there, put it on a plate, and ideally cover that up with a little bit of tin foil. Now, as I say, what you want to do is just add a little bit more salt and pepper with the rest of the meat. Just putting a bit of black pepper on there, dummy salt. That's it. Now, I'm going to push me luck, but just going to try and put that all in there. And again, don't forget to stir it over. Once you kind of think that you've got a bit of brown sort of colour on the outside, take it out of the pan, because don't forget it's going to cook for another couple of hours or so on top of this. I mean, I think we can probably take this out of the pan now. It's all looking like it's got a bit of brown colour on the outside. So let's put that on the plate with the other meat that we've already sort of browned off, and then we're going to add the vegetables. So again, I'll just bring that close to it. Oh yeah. Now just show you that. Look at that. Beautiful brown colour. Looking delicious. Oh, it's good. Now the pan, don't worry about the pan sort of looking like it's brown and it's all burnt, because that is all the flavour. Now what we're going to do is put this back down. Now because it's a fairly dryish pan, again, just add a little bit more oil. Don't go overboard. And then we're going to put in all these vegetables. Now, I'm just going to put these in as is. Doesn't matter what order. Just scoop them in the pan, get them all in there, all at once. Let's give those a stir around. Oh, get those bits of garlic. Beautiful. Now, what we're going to do with this mixture is really cook it for a good sort of 15, 20 or 30 minutes even. Now, if you find the heat is a little bit too high, you can just turn it down. So I'm just going to turn mine down a little bit to about a sort of medium heat. Now whilst the vegetables cooking, doesn't hurt to put a lid on there just to keep all those flavours in. Now I've been cooking all the vegetables for about 20 minutes. So let's give that a good stir around. Look at that. Oh, smelling good already. Now what we're going to do to that is to add all this beautiful meat. Look at that. Absolutely delicious. So let's just put that in the pot. Now, I've kept the meat in a bit of tin foil. Just put it all in there. Oh, wonderful. Now I'm going to turn the heat right up again. Now the reason I've turned it right up, because I'm going to put some wine in there. Beautiful wine. I'm just going to cook that off for a minute or two. It's got a lovely flavour. Again, we're leaving the lid off at this point. Now I'm going to leave that for a couple of minutes, and then I've got me beef stock at the ready. And again, just give it a good stir over. Ooh. Smelling good, smelling good. Now I'm going to put me beef stock in there. As I say, if you don't use alcohol, you know, don't want to use the red wine, just pour in the beef stock and that's absolutely fine. So give it a stir over, get it all mixed up. I'm going to turn the heat down. Now it's important that you turn the heat down. Put the lid on, turn the heat down, and I'm talking about really low. Almost the lowest it goes really. Because what you don't want to do with this meat is, you know, cook it too quick. You need to cook this meat nice and slow. Now I've been cooking my stew on a nice low heat for about 3 hours, so giving it quite a long time. The thing about a stew is you can't rush it. If you want a beautiful flavour and some really tender meat, you need to cook it long and slow. Now, I've been cooking mine for about 3 hours and I did add just half a glass of water, plus I also added 3 bay leaves. Now, I forgot to mention those at the beginning on the ingredients, but I just added 3 bay leaves in there a while ago because they give the stew a real beautiful flavour. So there's one there. Now, remember, just give it a gentle stir. You don't want to sort of muck it about too much, just to kind of get it mixed around. Now, we're going to just have a look at a piece of meat. So let's get a piece there. And look at that, that's starting to really get beautiful and soft. Now, I'm going to give this a total of another half an hour. So that will be 3.5 hours in total. Now, also, I'm going to add in, I've got some parsley and a couple of cloves of garlic there. So I'm just going to start squashing those together, crush them down, and then we're going to add that in the mix and cook for the last half an hour. Now, before I put that crushed garlic and parsley, I just want to quickly taste it. We're tasting for salt, really, see what it needs, if it needs anything at all. That's really nice. I don't think I'm going to add any salt to mine. What I'm going to do is leave it as it is. I mean, obviously, do give it a taste, because it depends how much salt you put on the meat, and again, what sort of vegetables you've got, but even in the beef stock, you've got a little bit of salt there. So I'm just going to add me crushed garlic, parsley, and let's just stir that in. And this will just give it a really nice flavour. But we've got to carry on cooking again for another half an hour. So let's squash it all down. Put the lid on it. Put the lid on. Now, what I'm going to do next is go and peel some potatoes, and I'm just going to fry them in a frying pan just to get a bit of colour on them so they look like roast potatoes. And then we can just add them into this once we've got it how we want it. So I've got the potatoes in the bowl there, a bit of tissue, just let them drain off for a little bit, and I'm going to leave those aside. Now, obviously, when we've had the last half an hour of cooking this stew, so it's in about 15 minutes time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend all my mixture, but take the meat out first. So I'm going to have a nice smooth stew, and we're going to have chunks of meat and these potatoes. But you can obviously leave yours nice and chunky if you like. It's entirely up to you. So I've had my stew cooking for 3.5 hours in total, and that is smelling really good. Now, what I want to do is I just want to give it a quick taste, because, obviously we've now added that garlic and parsley in there. So let me just taste that juice. Oh, it's really nice. Now, what you could do at this point is you could just add your potatoes in, and then you can kind of serve it up, and you've got nice chunky stew. Now, what I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to get myself a sort of slotted spoon, and I'm going to take all the meat pieces out that I can find, and the rest of it, apart from a few bay leaves, I'm going to blend it so it's really nice and smooth and all those flavours go together. And then I'm going to put back the meat, plus obviously we've got those potatoes. So I've got those fried potatoes in a little bit of olive oil just to get a bit of colour. Add those in, delicious. Now, I've been using my slotted spoon, going through, and I've got as much of the sort of chunky bits of meat I can find. I mean, there's little bits of meat in there, but that's absolutely fine. I've got the bones out and, as many of those chunks as I could. Now, also, I did take out, I found some bones sort of floating around, and as I'm going to be blending it, I don't want those in there, so check for bones. And I've got me bay leaves. Now, with the meat, I've got a whole bowl full of it. Look at that. Doesn't matter if it's got a bit of garlic and the sort of, parsley and bits and pieces on there. And just, try and get as much off as you can. Just get the meat out and leave all the veg behind. Now, as I say, I'm going to blend mine up so it's nice and smooth. And with those meaty bits in there, it's going to make it really taste delicious. So I've just got my stick blender. Now, this is a different stick blender to the one I used to have, because the last one decided to pack up. I must have had it a good 15 or years plus. So I've got myself a new blender. Unfortunately, it's a little bit noisy, but I'm sure it will do the job. So let's blend this all up. So I've just blended mine up. Got it nice and smooth. And I'm going to add back the meat and the potatoes. Just put it on the heat for, 5 minutes or so, and then we can serve it up. So we just left the stew for, about 10 minutes, just to slightly warm through. So that is ready to serve up now. So I'm going to take it over to the table, serve it up on a plate, maybe a little bit of bread. So I'm just going to try that. Now, before I do, let's get a bit of meat just show you how easy that is to cut. Really nice and soft. And look, it's fallen off the bone there. So we've got beautifully cooked meat. Look at that, so easy. Let's just try a little bit. Oh, that meat is so yummy. Do you know, on a winter's day, this is delicious, absolutely delicious. Now, again, bit of potato, get a bit of sauce on there. Absolutely lovely. Now also, you know, it's up to you, but I've got a bit of olive bread there actually, really nice. And you can use that to kind of dip up. Oh yeah, let me try it. That is delicious. Go and make this. Takes a little while, but the flavours are just so deep. There's so much depth of flavour. Absolutely wonderful. I'm going to go and enjoy this. Thanks for watching my videos. Hope you enjoy. See you again soon. The Original Naked Chef.